Okay, in this session, we will discuss about chapter 9. So this is our physics mechanics and heat 5 meeting. So today we will discuss about center of mass and linear momentum. Okay, in the first section, we will explain about center of mass. So the center of mass learning objectives here is given the position of several particles along an axis on a plane and determine the location of the center of mass. Okay, so the first point we need to there are, for example, particles along axis, x and y axis, and then we can determine the location of the center mass. And then the second one is locate the center of mass, an extended symmetric object by using symmetry. For a two-dimensional or three-dimensional extended object with a uniform distribution of mass, determine the center of mass by mentally dividing the object into simple geometric figures, each of which can be replaced by a particle and its center, and finding the center of mass of those particles. Okay, let's see the first example, center of mass, the functional definition. Yeah. For example, if here there is the motion of rotating objects can be complicated. Imagine flipping a baseball bat into the air. Yeah. So, but there is a special point on the object for which the motion is simple. So we see this point. Yeah. The center of mass of the bat trace out of parabola, just as toss ball does, and all other points rotate around this point. Okay. The center of mass for system of particles, the center of mass, we can use writing like this, COM, this meaning of center of mass of a system of particles. The center of mass of a system of particles is the point that moves as to all the system's mass were concentrated there, and the second, all external forces were applied there. For two particles separated by a distance d, where the origin is chosen as position of particle one. Yeah. So the origin is chosen as the position of particle one. We can say that center of mass two divided to mass one plus mass two times d. Yeah. It means that if we have position, for example, this one is mass one and then mass two. Yeah. So separate by distance d, and then we can calculate the center of mass, for example, here in this point, xum. Yeah. So the value of xum is equal to the total mass here, mass 1 and mass 2. And we can add mass 2 here times d. Yeah. D is the distance of mass 1 and mass 2. So xum is x located of the center of mass, the particle system. M1 is mass of particle 1, and then M2 is mass of particle 2, and D is the distance between particles. Okay, for two particles, for an arbitrary choice of origin, we can set that X center of mass is mass 1 times X1 plus mass 2 times X2 divided to mass 1 and mass 2. Yeah. Okay, yeah, for example, if we have this one is as origin and then mass 1, and then the second is mass 2. So the position here is x2 and then the position here is x1. So we can search what is the position of center of mass of these two systems. Yeah, for example, the center of mass is here, CUM. And say that this one is mass 1 times x1 plus mass 2 times x2 divided to the total of mass 1 plus mass 2. Yeah. Okay, graphical depiction of the center of mass. The center of mass is the same location regardless of the coordinate system used. It is property of the particles, not the coordinates. Okay, for example, this one. This is the center of mass of the two particle system, mass 1 and mass 2, and this one is CUM. Yeah. And then also for the other configuration, shifting the axis does not change the relative position of the center of mass. Okay, if we can shift the axis here, yeah. So there is x1 from the origin and then x2 from the origin. It means that x2 is d plus x1. Yeah. It means that the relative position is not changed from position of mass 1 and mass 2. So center of mass here, the relative position is the same. Okay, for many particles, we can generalize the equation where m is the total mass. Yeah, m is mass 1, mass 2 plus mass 3, and up to mass n. And then we can say that the center of mass 1 times x1, mass 2 plus mass 2 times x2, until mass n times xn divided to total mass. Okay, we can write that uh, the summarize from I equal to 1 to n, mixi divided to mass, yeah, the total mass. This one is the multi-particle center of mass in one dimension. Yeah. So in one dimension, we only focus in x-axis, for example, in x-axis. In general, in 3 dimensions, we find the center of mass along each axis separately. So x center of mass, we can say that 1 divided to total mass, uh, y center of mass, and z center of mass. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then also for z axis, 1 divided to total mass, and then mass I, zi, total from I from 1 to n. Yeah. So we can add in the 3 dimensions, x, y, and z axis. So for the center of mass expression in 3 dimensions, usually we can use the factor r. Yeah. R center of mass, it means that the total mass 1 divided to total mass, mi, ri. Ri, it means the factor. So we remember that r is xi plus yj and zk. Yeah. So r is the vector position. Yeah. Consists of the position in x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. Okay. So for solid bodies, we take the limit of an infinite sum of infinitely small particles. So it means that integral. Yeah. So we can integral from this one. It means that r center of mass, usually integral of uh, r dm. Okay. Okay. So coordinate by coordinate, you can write at x, y, and z axis. So from discrete like this, you can use integral for continuous body. Yeah. For the continuous body, it means that when the limit infinite sum, can say that integral x dm divided to m, integral y dm divided to m, and then integral z dm divided to total mass. Yeah. And here m, or capital M, is the mass of the object. Yeah. And center of mass for uniform density, it means that the density of particle or density of the body is the same. Yeah. We know that the mass density is mass divided to volume. Yeah, this one. And then if very small, if we take very small, it means that uniform density. So rho also equal to dm divided to dv. Yeah. Okay. M is the total mass and V is the total volume. By substituting the event, the center of mass simplifies. X center of mass is equal to, since the rho is the same, yeah, we can divide to rho here, yeah. Actually, center of mass before is 1 per m integral of x dm, yeah. So since this one is rho times volume, and then integral x d rho times volume, and since rho is same, yeah, or similar for or same for all body, we can take out this one, yeah, rho divided to rho v, and then integral x dv, yeah. So we can divide rho with rho, okay. So the equation becomes 1 per volume x integral of x dv. This one is for x center of mass, also for y center of mass, 1 divided to volume integral of y dv, and z 1 divided to volume integral z dv, yeah. And then you can bypass one or more these integrals if the objects has symmetry. Okay. Okay, symmetry and center of mass. The center of mass lies at a point of symmetry. If there is one, it lies on the plane of symmetry. If there is one, and it need not be on the object. Consider a donut. Yeah. Okay, center of mass, checkpoint 1. The figure shown a uniform square plate from which 4 identical squares of the corners will be removed. Where is the center of mass of the plate originally, and where is after the removal of square 1, squares 1 and 2, squares 1 and 3, and squares 1, 2, 3, and all 4 squares. Yeah. Answer in the term of quadrants, axes, or points without calculation, of course. Okay. Okay. For example, if the center of mass, the plate originally all of this one. So the center of mass is here. Okay. This one for point A, the center of mass is at the origin. And then for questions B, square 1, we can remove the square 1 here. So the second problem is at quadrant 4, yeah, along y in minus x. And when squares 1 and 2 remove, so the center of mass will come here. Yeah. And then if squares 1 and 3, yeah, at the origin, and then squares 1, 2, 3 at y is equal to x, and if we remove all of this one, becomes at origin. Yeah. Okay. And then finding the center of mass by subtraction. Yeah. So example, the task is find center of mass of a disk with another disk taken out, uh, this one. Yeah. Find the center of mass of individual disk and find the center of mass. On the diagram of center of mass C and the center of mass, center of mass P is the center of mass as composite plate with disk as removed. Okay. Okay, and then we continue to second topics today. This is Newton's second law for a system of particles. So it means that system particle more than one particles. So our purpose is learning objective today is apply Newton's second law to a system of particles by relating the net force of the forces acting on the particles to the acceleration of the system center of mass. And apply the constant acceleration equations to the motion of the individual particles in a system and to the motion of the system center of mass. And given the mass and velocity of the particles in a system, calculate the velocity of the system center of mass. And then given the mass and acceleration of the particles in a system, calculate the acceleration of the system center of mass. Given the position of a system center of mass as a function of time, yeah, as a function of time, this means a position, determine the velocity and center of mass. Given the velocity of system center of mass as a function of time, and determine the acceleration of the center of mass. Okay. Calculate the velocity, change in the velocity of the center of mass by integrating the center of mass acceleration function with respect to time. Calculate the center of mass displacement by integrating the center of mass velocity function with respect to time. And when the particles in a two-particle system move without a system center of mass moving, relate to the displacement of the particles and the velocities of the particles. Okay, so Newton's second law. So Newton's second law accelerates the center of mass of a system of particles. Center of mass motion continues unaffected by forces external to a system. Collisions between billiard balls. Okay, so the motion of system center of mass is equal to the total force, or net of force is equal to mass times acceleration of center of mass. This one for system of particles. It means that we can divide into three axes: x-axis, then y-axis, and z-axis. Okay, so force at x-axis equal to mass times acceleration center of mass at x-axis, and the force total at y-axis is equal to mass times acceleration at y-axis, and then total force at z-axis is equal to mass times acceleration at z-axis. Okay. So reminders that the total force in the sum of all external forces, M is the total constant mass of the closed system, and acceleration COM is the center of mass acceleration. Yeah. Okay, and then motion equation of center of mass. Example using center of mass motion equation. The case is billiard collisions. Forces are only external, internal. So force is equal to 0 and acceleration is equal to 0. Baseball bat with acceleration is equal to gravity. So center of mass follows gravitational trajectory. And then exploding rocket, explosion forces are internal. So only the gravitational force acts on the system, and the center of mass follows a gravitational trajectory, as long as air resistance can be ignored for the fragments. Okay. And then the next topic, we discuss about linear momentum. So linear momentum is our purpose to identify the momentum is a vector quantity, and this has both magnitude and direction, and also components. Calculate the linear momentum of particle as a product of the particle's mass and velocity, and calculate the change in momentum, magnitude, and direction when a particle changes its speed and direction of travel. Apply the relationship between a particle's momentum and the net force acting on the particle, and calculate the momentum of system of particles as the product of the system's total mass and its center of mass velocity, and apply the relationship between a system center of mass momentum and the net force acting on the system. So by the definition, the linear momentum is equal to mass times velocity. So P, this one is the symbol for linear momentum. Since this is the vector quantity, so there is a vector sign, yeah, at the top of P. This one is linear momentum, and then mass M, and V is the velocity. So the momentum points in the same direction as the velocity can only be changed by a net external force. The time rate of change of the momentum of a particle is equal to the net force acting on the particle and is in the direction of that force. Okay, so from the momentum from the Newton's second law, we can write Newton's second law to this one. Yeah, since we remember that the Newton's second law, force is equal to mass times acceleration. So this one is mass dv dt. So this one, we can say that d mv dt, right? If mass relatively constant, so we can take out from this one, mass times dv dt. So change of m times v, this one is change of momentum, dv dt. Yeah. So you can write the Newton's second law as the rate change of momentum divided to time. Yeah. Okay, the figure gives the magnitude p of the linear momentum versus time t for a particle moving along an axis, a force directed along the axis acts on the particle. Then the four regions indicating according to the magnitude of the force grades first, in which region is the particle slowing. Okay. Okay, so we can read these graphs, this one. In y-axis, this is the momentum, and then at x-axis, this one is time. Yeah, so it's for momentum, then time, or this one is linear momentum. Okay. So rank four regions indicated according the magnitude of the force greatest first. You can see that force is delta P divided to delta T. So when force is positive, it means that the slope here is positive, right? So this one is dp dt. So this one is the first, and then the second one, but negative sign, it means that in the opposite direction, but this one is zero. Yeah. So the first one is number one, and then second is number three, number two, and four. Yeah. In which region in the particle slowing? Particle slowing, it means that the force is opposite. Yeah. So it means here in the three region. Yeah. Region three. So the particles slowing. And then momenta for a system of particles, we can uh, total momenta for a system of particles to find P is equal to mass times V center of mass, linear momentum system of particles. The linear momentum of a system of particles is equal to the product of the total mass m of the system and the velocity of the center of mass. And then Newton's second law for a system of particle, taking the time derivative, we can write Newton's second law for a system of particle as F net is dp dt. Yeah, this one is for system of particles, and the net external force on a system change linear momentum. Without a net external force, the total linear momentum of a system of particles cannot change. Okay, next we continue the explanation about collision and impulse. Yeah. So collision and impulse learning objective is identify that impulse is a vector quantity and thus has both magnitude and direction and components. Apply the relationship between impulse and momentum change, and apply the relationship between impulse, average force, and the time travel interval taken by impulse. Apply the constant acceleration equations to relate impulse to force. Given force as a function of time, calculate the impulse and thus also the momentum change by integrating the function. Given a graphs of force versus time, calculate the impulse and thus also the momentum change by graphical integration. In a continuous series of collisions by projectiles, calculate the average force on the target by relating it to the mass collision rate and the velocity change of each projectile. Okay, for the first is definition of impulse. In a collision, momentum of particle can change. We define a quantity called impulse. Yeah, impulse J acting during a collision. We can write here J is equal to integral of force dt. Yeah, integral of force dt. It means that applied impulse is equal to change in momentum of the object during the collision. Okay, so since we have that before force is equal to delta P delta T. So if we multiply the force with time, force times delta T is equal to delta P. And then in integral form, we can write as integral f dt. This one is called the change of momentum or impulse. Yeah. So impulse, it means that the change of momentum, the change of linear momentum. This one is delta P is equal to J. Yeah. So this one called linear momentum and impulse theorem. This equation can be rewritten component by component like other vector quantities. Okay, so graphical depiction of impulse versus force. Given force average and duration, so J is force times delta T. We are integrating, we only need to know the area under the force curve. So if we want to measure the impulse in the collision is equal to the area under the curve. Yeah, this one. It means the impulse is equal to integral f dt. You can take the time for initial time, Ti, and then to T final. Okay, so force here is a function of time. And then the average force gives the same area under the curve. Okay, this one is the average force. Yeah. Okay. And then impulse from projectiles for a steady stream of n projectiles. It undergoes a momentum change delta P. So J is equal to minus n delta P. Yeah. Particle collision and average force, we can write as F average is J divided to delta T minus n delta P divided to delta T. So this one is n divided to delta T minus mass times delta V. If the particle stop, it means that the final velocity is 0 minus initial velocity, so becomes minus V. And if the particles bounce back with equal speed, it means that V final is minus V. Minus V becomes minus 2V. Yeah. So the average force from multiple collisions, the product Nm is the total mass for n collisions. So we can write that total force is or force average is delta M times delta V divided to delta T minus. Okay, collision and impulse checkpoint. The figure shows an overhead view of a ball bouncing from a vertical wall without any change in its speed. Consider the change delta P in the ball's linear momentum. Is delta Px positive, negative, or zero? Delta Py positive, negative, or zero? And what is the direction of delta P? Okay, so since delta Px here, we can uh, make a projection. Yeah. For example, this one is P1, P initial, and then P final. So the initial position or initial momentum at x-axis, this one is, there is Px. Yeah. Okay. And then Py, P initial. Okay. And then for the final becomes P final x and then P final y. Yeah. Okay. So we can delta P here. Since the momentum is the same, you can write as Px minus Px is equal to 0, right? Since the same direction to positive 1. But for delta Py here, the final is positive Py, but the initial is negative, minus Py. So becomes 2Py. So delta Py is positive. Yeah. positive 2py, positive 2py. But for delta px is equal to 0. Yeah. What is the direction of delta p along the positive y-axis normal force? Yeah. Since the total change momentum in x-axis equal to 0, so the direction of delta p is along the positive y-axis. Okay. And then the conservation of linear momentum. So our learning objective for conservation of linear momentum is for the isolated system of particles. Apply the conservation of linear momenta to relate the initial momenta of the particles to their momenta at later instant. And then identify that the conservation of linear momentum can be done along an individual axis by using components along that axis, provide there is no net external force component along that axis. The first one is zero impulse conditions. For an impulse of 0, we find that P is constant. Yeah, this one for closed isolated system. We say that if no net external force acts on a system of particles, the total linear momentum P of the systems cannot change. Conditions for applying conservation of linear momentum. This is called the law of conservation of linear momentum. Check the components of the net external force to know if you should apply this one. If the component of the net external force on a closed system is 0 along axis, then the component of linear momentum of the system along axis cannot change. So this one is zero impulse condition. We say that P is constant. And then effect of internal and external forces on momentum. Internal forces can change momenta of parts of the systems, but cannot change the linear momentum of the entire system. And do not confuse momentum and energy. Yeah. Okay, an initially stationary device lying on a frictionless floor explodes into two pies, which is then slide across the floor. One of them is positive x direction. What is the sum of the momenta of the two pieces after the explosion? And can the second piece move at angle to x-axis? And what is the direction of momentum of second piece? Okay. Of course, what is the sum of the momenta of the two pies after the explosion? Okay. For initial position is initial momentum is 0. It means that after explodes becomes the first one to positive direction, px1 action, and then another one is px2 action prime. Yeah. So the total momentum after explosion is equal to 0, since the total momentum is px1 minus px2. Yeah. It means that px2 is minus px1 prime. So the total momentum of the collisions becomes 0. And then can the second piece move at angle to the x-axis? No, since this is equal. And what is the direction of momentum of the second piece? Since the first piece is to positive x direction, it means that the second one is to negative x direction. Yeah. And then momentum and kinetic energy in collisions. So our learning objective is to distinguish between elastic collisions, inelastic collisions, and completely inelastic collisions. Identify one-dimensional collisions as one where the objects move along a single axis, both before and after the collision. Applying the collision of momentum for an isolated one-dimensional collisions to relate the initial momenta of the objects to their momenta after the collision. And identify that in an isolated system, the momentum and velocity of the center of mass are not changed even if the objects collide. So far, there are three types of collisions. The first one is elastic collisions. It means for elastic collision, the total kinetic energy is unchanged or conserved. And then a useful approximations for common situations. In real collisions, same energy is always transferred. But for inelastic collision, some energy is transferred into a different form. Yeah. And then for the third type, this one is completely inelastic collisions. It means the objects stick together and great loss of kinetic energy. Okay, for momentum for one dimension in elastic collisions, for one dimension, the total momentum at initial state is equal to the total momentum final state. Yeah. Okay, for example, this one we have mass 1 and then move with speed 1. Another condition, there is mass 2 move with speed 2. Yeah. Okay, this one is V1I and then V2I. And after, so the first body or the first object has initial V1I. Yeah. Mass 1, V1I. Also for momentum for the second particle, V2I is equal to mass 2 times V2I. Okay, and then after collisions, this one, mass 1 V1I, V1 final, and then mass 2 V2 final. Okay. So for completely inelastic collision for target at rest, after collisions, they will stick together. Yeah. This one, so for example, there is a block and then another one, and then after collisions, this one stick together. Okay. So this one is the typical for completely inelastic collision. Okay. Okay. Inelastic versus completely inelastic collision. Yeah. Here is the generic setup for inelastic collision. Body 1 and body 2. Before ms1 times velocity 1 initial and ms2 v2 initial. And this one is for inelastic collision, but they do not stick together. But for this one, after collisions, for a complete elastic collision, they will stick together. Okay. Okay. So for center of mass velocity for completely inelastic collision, so the center of mass velocity remains unchanged. So this one is equal to total mass times V center of mass is equal to total momentum. This one equal to initial momentum of particle 1 and then momentum of object 2 of particle 2. Yeah. Center of mass velocity brace frame view of completely for inelastic collision. Yeah. You can see this one at x axis. Particle 1, velocity 1 initial, and then collision. So this one becomes m1 plus m2 and velocity of center of mass. Yeah. So in this case, the center of mass of two bodies is between them and moves at the constant velocity. Here is the stationary target. Yeah. Okay. For example, this one, body 1 and body 2 are in completely elastic one-dimensional collision. What is their final momentum if their initial momenta are respectively 10 kilogram meter per second and 0, and then 10 and 4 kilogram meter per second, and 10 kilogram and minus 4. Okay. So we need to calculate the final momentum in completely inelastic collision. Okay. For example, particle 1, P1 initial is 10 kilograms meter per second, and then particle 2 initial, the momentum is 0. Okay. And then the total momentum after that, P1I plus P2I equal to 10 plus 0. So the final momentum, it means 10 kilograms meter per second. Also for particle 1 and particle 2, this one becomes 14. And here becomes 6 kilograms meter per second. Yeah. Okay, and then elastic collision in one dimensions. So our objective is for isolated elastic collision in one dimension, apply the conservative laws for both the total energy and momentum of the colliding bodies to relate the initial values to the values after the collision. And for a projectile hitting a stationary target, identify the resulting motion for the three general case: equal mass, target more massive than projectile, and projectile more massive than target. Okay, so for kinetic energy in totally elastic collisions, total kinetic energy is conserved in elastic collisions. In elastic collision, the kinetic energy of its colliding body may change, but the total kinetic energy does not change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the total momentum is constant, conserved, linear momentum, and then the kinetic energy also conserved. Yeah. So this one is the case for elastic collision. Okay.
Fine.
So for kinetic energy in totally elastic collision, the example like this one. Okay. So particle 1 with velocity v1I, and then particle 2 target with velocity is equal to 0. It means that particle 2 is in rest condition. And then after the collision, particle 1 becomes v1 final, and particle 2, the velocity becomes v2 final. So we can say that this equation, right? It means that total momentum in initial condition will the same at the total momentum at final collision. Yeah. In the initial condition, it means that P1I plus P2I equal to P1 final plus P2 final. Okay. So in this case, as V2I is equal to 0, yeah, okay, we have that M1 V1I equal to M1 V1 final plus M2 V2 final. Okay. So we can calculate the V1 final. Okay. Okay. In this case, we will get that with sub algebra, we'll get V1 final is equal to mass 1 minus mass 2 divided to M1 plus M2 P1I, and then P2 final is equal to 2M1 divided to M1 and M2 times V1 initial. Okay. And then special condition of mass and velocity in elastic collisions: equal mass V1 final, it will be 0, and then V2 final is equal to V1 initial. It means the first object stops, and then the second object will move. But for massive target, M2 is more than M1. The first object just bounce back, speed mostly unchanged. Yeah. So it means for example, this one, M1, V1 initial, and then very large object here. And then after the collision, is still stop, then mass 1 becomes back to here minus P1I. Okay. This one is equal to V1 final. Will be bounce back. Yeah. And the speed mostly unchanged. Yeah. And for massive projectile, V1 finals more than V1 initial, and V2 final more or this one is limitly same with the initial condition. And the first objective going the target flies forward at about twice as speed. Yeah. Okay, this one for elastic collision moving target condition. Okay, so for the target that is also moving, we will get like this. Well, it means that mesh 1 V1I and then M2 V2I is equal to M1 V1 final plus M2 V2 final. So by this condition, okay, we also know from the kinetic energy that this one is for elastic collision, right? So in the elastic collision, minus V2 final minus V1 final divide to V2 initial minus V1 initial will be some equal to 1. Yeah. So it means that minus V2 final plus V1 final is equal to V2 initial minus V1 initial. Okay. So in this case, by substitute this condition, we'll get that V1 final becomes this one, and then V2 final become this equation. Okay, and then moving target collision for elastic conditions, graphical view. Here is the generic setup for elastic collision with moving target. So this one is mesh 1 and then initial velocity of particle 1, and then mesh 2 and initial velocity of particle 2. This one is the collision and elastic condition graphical view. Okay. Okay, what is the final linear momentum of target in this picture 971? Yeah. If the initial linear momentum of the projectile is 6 kilograms meter per second, and then the final linear momentum of projectile is 2 kilograms meter per second. Okay. So it means that the total momentum at initial will be the same at the total momentum at final. Yeah. Okay, for example, this one is 6 and then P2 initial and then P1 final and then P2 final. Okay. So the question is what the final linear momentum of target. Target is particle 2, right? So in this case, in the picture here, when the initial target is at the rest condition, it means that the initial momentum is equal to 0. Yeah. So here 6 is equal to 2 plus P2 final. So P2 final is equal to 4 kilograms meter per second. Yeah. Can get 4 kilograms meter per second. And then for the P1 final is minus 2, it means that equal to 8. And what is the final kinetic energy of target if initial and kinetic energy is 5 and 2 joules? So we can add that the total is 3, right? So since the kinetic energy is equal at the initial and final. Then we more general in collision in 2 dimensions. So for our objective learning is for an isolated system in which a 2-dimensional collision occurs, apply the conservation of momentum along its axis of the coordinate system to relate the momentum components along an axis before the collision to the momentum component along the same axis after the collision. So the key point here is the momentum along its axis of a coordinate system to relate momentum components along an axis before collision to the momentum components along same axis. Okay. For an isolated system in which a 2-dimensional elastic collision occurs, apply the conservation of momentum along its axis to relate the momentum components along an axis before the collision to the momentum components along the same axis after the collision, and apply the conservation of total kinetic energy to relate the kinetic energies before and after the collision. Okay. Okay, imagine in 2 dimension here, the 2D collisions graphical depiction. Apply the conservation of momentum in along its axis So for example, mass 1 and velocity 1 initial only for x-axis, and V2 final and V1 final, it means that there is components at x and y axis. Okay. Okay, so we can analyze this one first. M1 V1 initial along x-axis, M1 V1 initial, M1 V1 cos theta, and then M2 V2 cos theta 2. Okay. Along y, M1 this one is final condition. Yeah. For particle 1, it means that theta 1, yeah, here. So P final for particle 1, P1 final, and then at x-axis, and then P2 final at x-axis. And here is P2 final at y-axis and P2 final at P1 final at x-axis, y-axis. Okay. So total momentum at y-axis equal to 0. Okay. But total momentum at x-axis equal to M1 V1I. And then the energy also half mass 1 V1 initial square is equal to mass 1 half V1 final square plus half mass 2 V2 final square. Okay. So this three equation for stationary target have 7 unknowns since V2I is equal to 0. If we know 4 of them, we can solve for the remaining ones. Okay. Okay, this one is two-dimensional collisions. Suppose that the projectile has an initial momentum of 6 kilograms meter per second and a final x component of momentum 4 kilograms meter per second and y component of -3. For the target, what then are the final x component of momentum and final y? Okay, so we can imagine by this one. Yeah. The initial P1I is equal to 6 kilograms meter per second. And then after that, you can see that Px, P1 final x is equal to 4 kilograms meter per second. And then P1 final y is equal to -3 kilograms meter per second. Okay. So it means that P2 final y is equal to 3 kilogram meter per second, since this one and this one need to same. Yeah. And then the total for P2 final final y, P2 final x is equal to 2 kilograms meter per second, since this one is equal to 6. Yeah. So this one is equal to 2 kilograms meter per second, and the P final at y-axis equal to 3 kilograms meter per second. Okay, and then the next section is systems with varying mass, like a rocket. Yeah. So our objective is apply the first rocket equation to relate the rate at which the rocket lost mass, the speed of exhausted products relative to the rocket, the mass of the rocket, and the acceleration of the rocket. And then apply the second rocket equation to relate the change in the rocket speed to the relative speed of the exhaust products and the initial and final mass of the rocket. For a moving system undergoing a change in mass at a given rate, relate the rate to the change in momentum. Okay, so the conservation of momentum a rocket exhaust isolated system, it means that rocket and exhaust products from an isolated system conserve momentum, initial and final is the same, and we can rewrite again. Mv is the initial momentum, and then this one is the change of velocity, and this one is the change of momentum. Yeah. Okay, we can simplify. I mean, this one is the change of mass times velocity. Yeah. We can simplify using the relative speed, defined as u is equal to v plus dv minus v relative, and graphical depiction of rocket exhaust momentum conservation. The ejection of mass from the rocket's rear increase the rocket speed. And then this one is minus dm, and the system boundary is this one. Yeah. So first and second rocket equation, R times V relative equal to mass times A. Yeah. R is the mass rate of fuel consumption, and the left side is the equation of is thrust. Yeah. Derive the velocity change for given consumption of fuel, and the second rocket equation. V final and minus V initial is equal to V relevant mass I and mass final. And we can take the summary of this chapter. Linear momentum is defined as total momentum, mass times velocity in center of mass, and apply this Newton's second law. The force is equal to rate change of momentum. Yeah. And collision and impulse, we can define impulse as force times time and conservation linear of momentum. The total P is constant for closed and isolated system. Okay, for 1D collision, if one for initial and final equal to same, yeah. Unaffected by collision and internal force and collision of two dimension, applying the conservation of momentum along its axis and conserve Ke if elastics. Yeah. And elastic collision of one dimension, K is also conserved. This one we will get the final velocity of particle one and the final velocity of particle two. And this one is for rocket variable mass system. Okay. Okay, I will give you some example about linear momentum problems. Yeah. Okay, the first problem is 3 kilograms block slides across a frictionless table. This one is frictionless table at speed 8 meter per second toward second stationary blocks. So this one is mass 1, 3 kilograms, and initial V1I is equal to 8 meter per second. Yeah. Okay. And then the second particle, this one at the rest condition. This one is 8 meter per second. But V2 initial is equal to 0 since condition at stationary block. And then mass 2 is 4.5 kilograms. Yeah. And then there is a spring which is obeys Hooke's law with a spring constant K 850 Newton per meter is attached to the second block in such a way that it will be compressed when struck by the incoming blocks. Okay. What is the maximum compression of the spring during the collision? And then what are the final velocities, blocks after the collisions, and what is the collision elastic? Yeah. Okay, so what is the maximum compression of the spring? Yeah. It means that the total momentum, yeah, can say that particle one has initial momentum, yeah. So the total momentum at particle, total momentum initial, and is equal to total final momentum. Yeah. P1I plus P2I will be P1 final plus P2 final. Okay. So this one becomes mass 1 V1I plus mass 2 V2I equal to mass 1 V1 final plus M2 V2 final. Okay. Since the particle 2 initially at rest, so the initial momentum will be 0. And this one becomes 3 times 8 equal to mass 1. Yeah. 3 plus mass 2, right? Mass 2 is 4.5. Since after the collisions becomes stick together. Okay. So this one is 4.5. And then the final velocity. Okay. So this one is 24 is equal to 7.5 final velocity. And then we will get that the final velocity of the system will equal to 3.2 meter per second. Yeah. So actually the initial kinetic energy is equal to the spring potential energy. Okay. So we can get that kinetic energy half mu v final. Yeah. This one is equal to half mu is mass 1 mass 2 divided to m1 plus m2. This one is equal to 3 times 4 divided to here, and then the final result is 1.8 kilograms. Okay, so this one is V relative 1.8 times V relative is equal to 8 minus 0, right? Okay, 8 minus 0 square, so it becomes half times 1.8 times 68 and 64. So the total kinetic energy becomes 57.6 joules, is equal to spring potential energy. Yeah, potential energy of spring equal to half k and then h squared. Yeah, equal to 57.6 joule. So here half the spring constant is equal to 850. Yeah, so this one is 850. Okay, so we can get the x squared is equal to 57.6 times 2 divided to 850. Yeah, this is equal to 0.1355. Yeah. It means that the displacement or the compression of the spring relatively close to 0.368 meters. Yeah, this one is the compression of the spring. Okay. 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 So for the next questions, you can see from the previous page that what are the final velocities of the blocks after the collision? Okay. So since this one is the uh, inelastic collision, it means that the kinetic energy is not conserved. We can set that. We can find this is the totally inelastic collision. Yeah. So the final velocity becomes the same as the velocity of the system. Yeah. So the final velocity is V final is equal to 3.2 meter per second. And then for the kinetic energy for point C is the collision elastic as on the mass of string is energy zero. So we can say that the initial kinetic energy is equal to half mass initial mass 1, yeah, and then V1I squared. This is equal to half times 3 and 8 squared. Yeah. So this one is equal to 96 joule. But the kinetic energy for final state or final condition is equal to half times 7.5 times 3.2 square. This one is equal to 38.4. Yeah. So the kinetic energy at initial state is not the same as kinetic energy at final state. It means that the collision is not elastic. Yeah. This one is not elastic collision. Okay. Then for the next problem, we have a problem about it with a mass 12 kilograms, and then velocity of 380, 380 meter per second towards a ballistic pendulum with a 6 kilograms mass, with suspended by cables and 70 centimeter long. Okay. And then calculate the vertical height of the pendulum, rise due to the ballet's impacts, and the initial kinetic energy of the ballet, and the kinetic energy of the ballet and pendulum just after they combine. Okay. So for the first problems, the vertical height, the pendulum rise due to the ballet's impact. So we need to calculate the total momentum at initial will be the same as total momentum at final state. So this one is S1 V1I plus M2 V2I will be equal to M1 plus M2 to V final for the system. Okay. So we can calculate since this one 0, since the pendulum is initial at rest. So we can get the mass. The mass one is 12 grams. It means that 12 times 10 minus 3 kilograms times the initial velocity. The initial velocity is 380. Yeah. Okay, you can calculate the final velocity. Yeah. So this one becomes 12 times 10 minus 3 plus the mass of block is 6 kilograms and times V final. So V final here, after the calculation, we will get that V final is around 0.758 meter per second. Okay. And then by using the kinetic energy and potential energy conservation, we get the height after the collision. Yeah. So we'll get that half the mass 1 V1I square will be the same as mass 1 plus mass 2 times G times H. Okay. So this one, this one is the kinetic energy total after collision. So this one is equal to mass 1 and mass 2. Yeah. Mass 1 and mass 2 plus times V final square. So we can cancel this one. And then we will get that the height of after collision is equal to V final square divided to G. Yeah. Okay. We can input this number 0.758 square divided to 2 times gravity is 9.8. Yeah. So the height after the collision is around 2.93 centimeters. Okay. And then the initial kinetic energy of the ballet here, we can calculate by kinetic energy initial. This one is half mass initial F1 mass 1 V1I squared. Okay. So this one is equal to half the mass is 12 times 10 minus 3 and then 380 squared. So the initial kinetic energy of the ballet is 866 joule. And the next question, what is the kinetic energy of the ballet and pendulum just after they combine? Okay, so we can calculate this one. C, the kinetic energy final is equal to half mass 1 plus mass 2 times V final square. Okay, so this one is half 12 times 10 minus 3 plus 6. So the final velocity is 0.758. Yeah. 0.750 squared. So this one equal to 1.73 joules. Okay. So I think that's all for our lecture today, and I will give you some problems to do at home. Okay. Thank you for your attention and See you at the next section. Okay.